Good morning and welcome to Nottinghamshire and City of Nottingham's Fire and Rescue Service Policy and Strategy Committee meeting of Friday the 15th of November. Any apologies for absence?
No apologies, but Councillor Taylor will be slightly late.
Okay, thank you. Any declarations of interest for today?
No.
Nope. Okay. Can we go to the minutes of the 26th of April? Are we happy that they reflect a true and accurate meeting? 20. Yep. Okay. Thank you. And then if we can move to item 4, Service Improvement Future 25 Closure Reports. That's to you.
It's going to be Michael that takes this one, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Morning, members. Members will remember that back in May 2022, the Chief Fire Officer sought permission to bring forward an efficiency programme titled Futures 25. It was in response to a number of pressures that we were feeling, particularly at the time, a number of budgetary pressures, but also about setting the ambitions of the service for future years. The efficiency programme was split into two different phases, Phase 1 and Phase 2. Phase 1 ran from May 22 through to March 23. And as detailed in the report in sections 2.1 down to sections 2.5, it identifies the areas of which, or the three work streams that we primarily identified. There was the three activities that were undertaken was a workforce review of Green Book, Grade 5 and above members of staff, a fire cover review, and a review of the Flexi Duty Collective Agreement. It was reported back to members in terms of the Green Book pay budgets that we was able to make a savings of 250,000 through the disestablishment of a number of posts. Secondly, moving on to in terms of a fire cover review. The fire cover review looked at various different models and the operational model across the county. And this was really the catalyst that led to or supported the reinstatement of the 24-hour day cover at Ashfield Fire Station, and that was completed as part of the Futures 25 Phase 2 programme. The last one was the Flexi Duty Officers Review. At the time of undertaking the review, it was during a period of challenge in terms of potential industrial action. So it was felt that to continue with a review of flexi duty officers that was critical to the statutory delivery of some of those activities in the event of industrial action was counterproductive. So the review was put on hold, and that will form part of the next CRMP to go back and restart that review and bring that back to members. Phase 2 of the Futures 25 efficiency programme looked primarily at four main items. That was a governance review, internal governance review, review of the revenue budget management, service redesign, cultural EDI and leadership. In terms of governance review, one of the most prominent things that we did in terms of that review was to bring back to members, and we undertook a strategic leadership structure review, and that resulted in the removal of a senior manager's post at SLT. Further to that, we looked at both the administration and the way that we conducted a number of the meetings and structures that supported the governance and brought about an additional saving of approximately 600 hours per year on administration time. As we move on, we undertake, in terms of revenue and budget management, members were very much aware that in February 23, for the first time, for fire authorities, that the Home Office requested that we submit an annual efficiency and productivity plan. Now, this was to create 2% of non-pay efficiencies and to increase productivity by 3%. We made this part of the Futures 25 programme, and we set out a productivity plan for the financial year 2023, setting out 1.1 million savings plus 169k non-cashable savings. So we far exceeded the 2% efficiencies that was required. Moving us on to, we also undertook some activities around changes to procurement thresholds that we believe that could further drive productivity, accountability and reduce the level of bureaucracy. With regards to service design, it's been brought back to members on a number of occasions, but one of the fundamental things that we undertook was a review of our prevention function. We completed that as part of phase 2 of the Futures 25 programme, driving forward a number of improvements across the prevention team that hopefully we will see the fruition of those changes in the forthcoming years. Additional to that, we've also committed and begun a assessment or digital maturity assessment of our ICT delivery team, and we can hopefully bring something back to members in the new year regarding that review. We continue to drive forward in terms of service redesign, continually reviewing productivity and efficiencies opportunities. One of those that we recognise and drive forward is the improvements in terms of digitisation and the delivery of those services through digital or digitisation. We are reviewing and carrying out improvements to it's detailed in 2.18, a C for Miss database system, which really drives our front-facing public services. That work is ongoing, but we've taken it out of the Futures 25 programme and made it part of core business. Moving on to culture, EDI and leadership. Members will be very much aware and hopefully up to date in terms of how we have progressed the service in terms of its journey, its ambitions around being both an inclusive employer and driving forward the culture and leadership across the organisation. We've entered into partnerships with other providers, notably one of the ones that we're most recently proud of is working with the NTU to have to work with them to develop an interactive mapping tool that really will help us get to the communities across Nottinghamshire and Nottingham City that are most at need. It's also pleasing that much of our work that we've undertaken around culture, EDI and leadership was recognised in the HMRC FRS inspection, which commented on a positive direction. Whilst we're not being complacent, we still recognise we've got lots to do, but we're really pleased with that progress has been made to date. We've further invested in organisational development, and we continue to develop organisational development across the service. We've invested in an organisational development business partner who is working with leaders across the organisation and really trying to embed themselves in the way that we do business to drive forward a sustainable development programme across the organisation. Chair, I think that's the pertinent points out of the report, but happy to try and take the question.
Thank you for the report, and I think, as members, I think we have to acknowledge the work that you've done in this area. It covers a wide range of areas in terms of efficiency and improvements. I know the report is to noting, but has members got any specific questions that they want to ask at this stage? Yeah.
I would just echo your comment. Thank you. There's an awful lot of work that you've done and are doing there. In a rapidly changing world, change is ongoing, in my opinion, so it doesn't stop now with the closure of this report. I think the challenge and the right way forward is to accept change and carry on whatever that brings in terms of the service, because you've clearly looked in some depth here and you've had some great outcomes, but you just don't draw a line, do you? You carry on. So well done, and thank you.
Yeah, if I can, Chair, just one. Thank you for the comments, and I'd kind of share that. There's officers in the room with me, and there's many in the service that have done a Herculean effort in the last 2.5 years to get us where we are. That's been reflected in some part to HMI result, which I know we're all very, very proud of. It's great to be one of the better fire and rescue services according to HMI currently, But what I think the report also does, it signposts you to what we are doing, Councillor, in the future as well. So things like the people and culture strategy around how we're going to invest in people, and that's going to be clearly, with all the negative press around fire at the moment, that is clearly an area of kind of leadership at all levels to make sure culture's there. I also think as well, with what you're going to see in December's authority that we've previously discussed around the MTFS and about how that lays that out as well. And of course, by the time we realise, well, what is the efficiencies we're going to have to make when we see the government settlement for finance. But the ambition is certainly there about making sure that we provide you some reassurance about the quality of services we're delivering to the public. So excited for the future. There's some unknowns at the moment, but the ambition is still there. And I think we've learned a lot in that journey as well about how to scope things, what we can do, capacity, and what we can't do as well as an organisation. So I think it's been certainly been a good learning exercise for me, and I hopefully think that's been the same for my colleagues and peers.
If I could just come back, I do agree. I've always felt that people are the most important resource of any organisation, and I know it's a fine debate with finance, but I've always come down on the people thing. You need to look after your people, and they are your best resource. Probably followed secondly by financial and budget, I know, but you touched on that, and yeah, you need to bring your workforce along with you, don't you, and look after them, because they are the best resource you've got from them.
And absolutely, obviously, just to finish on that point, obviously I went to the Fire Authority Awards, and I was blown away just to see the, people actually being employed for 30, 40 years. But also, when you think about equality, diversity, and inclusion of some of the awards that we gave out, it just speaks to the distance travelled of Nottinghamshire Fire Rescue Service. So I'm actually proud to be sitting here as Vice Chair Service in the authority, but recognising that you're right, Councillor Upton, that people are our most precious resource, and I think we as a fire authority do a lot to ensure that we actually appreciate that and acknowledge that. So I think we just need to continue with the direction of travel that we're going, and actually think about what else that we can do, not just for the people, but obviously there are some financial implications that we need to think about too. But that said, if the members have not got any question, I think it's about noting the report. Yeah. Okay. Actually, I think that brings us nicely to the exclusion of the public. Do I need to read this out?
Yes, please.
Yeah. To consider excluding the public from the meeting during consideration of the remaining items in accordance with Section 100A of the Local Government Act 1972 under Schedule 12A, Part 1, on the basis that, having regard to all of the circumstances, the public interest in maintaining an exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information. Are we all agreed?
Yep.
Agreed.